we want to talk a little bit about business email compromise because realistically, that is going to be the goal of a lot of cybersecurity fraud. This is by far the most financially devastating type of cybercrime on the planet, to the tune of about $2.7 billion last year lost through business email compromise scams. In fact, the FBI and the IC3 just put out a really nice report on the stats that we saw from 2022 in terms of accounts being compromised. They estimated domestic and international exposed dollar loss at over $50 billion just for the last roughly decade. That's a hard number to stomach. Whereas a hard number to stomach when we talk about the amount of money that's actually lost in these scams. $50.8 billion over a 9-year period of time. So when we're talking about business email compromise, again, we'll level set here really quick. What are we talking about? Business email compromise is the practice of an attacker breaking into your email account, stealing money. Usually they'll leverage something like a hacked email or a weak password or something like that. They'll pop into the account. They'll monitor communications. They will look for opportunities to defraud you, and then they will send carefully crafted, spoofed, or hacked email to trick a recipient into transferring funds. Oftentimes this is a wire transfer or an ACH transfer or something like that into an account that the attackers have access to, but the victim does not. So we bring this up again because it's the ultimate goal for a lot of these types of scams. It's not just breaking into your account for fun. In some cases, in a very few cases, it's for the theft of information, something like espionage. But for the most part, we're looking at financial loss. When we look at the cybersecurity losses associated with all kinds of attacks across the board, over a quarter of those are business email compromise specifically. Again, $2.7 billion in the last calendar year, which is just the ones that we know about. It's likely going to be more than that. But 88% of people who responded have experienced something like a supplier-based email attack. And the loss to a BEC attack is 80 times greater than a ransomware attack. This is pretty sobering when we look at the statistics behind this. Now, ransomware operators will use a lot of the same tactics that BEC operators will when they break into accounts in the first place. A lot of this comes down to something like phishing, which I know we had a question from the audience on that, but we'll address that in a little bit more detail at the end of the webinar. But if you're planning to block something like business email compromise, you are just kind of, by the nature of the security systems you're putting in place, making ransomware harder on your network, and that is a good thing when we want to talk about overall security. All right, so common types of business email compromise scams. Executive fraud is a big one. We see that one pop up very frequently. Real estate transaction fraud is huge. If you saw our email scams and trends webinar from late last year, beginning of this year, you saw us go through the case of Raymond Hushpuppi, a Nigerian national who was responsible for untold millions of dollars worth of loss, and a lot of these were from real estate transaction fraud. We also see things like payroll redirects. We see vendor payment invoice fraud, we see billing fraud, and then lately we've started to see a big boost in attorney impersonation. A hacker pretending to be someone from a law firm, which carries a little bit more gravitas when they're talking about financial penalties or something like that. Either hitting you up with an invoice that's due or demanding some kind of settlement from you or something along those lines. And again, they've been very successful in doing this.
Thank you so much, everyone. Again, my name is Matt Duran, Director of Training and Research for LMG Security. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. We would love to hear from you. You can reach me at info@lmgsecurity.com, find me on LinkedIn, or follow us on Twitter. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.